There's a reason why so many were picking the Gators to death roll LSU, why their belief in the Tigers was so half-hearted. LSU's most glaring weaknesses picked the absolute worst time to show up in Gainesville. After 3 games against ranked opponents in their first 6 weeks, the daunting schedule finally caught up with them. Their usually stout defense was duped, and their erratic offense finally cracked.
They had the edge. It felt like they had the momentum. They had the sacks. They were making the plays. It never seemed like we could get over the hump, especially in the fourth quarter. Just never seemed we could make that play.
The LSU offense struck quickly. A 10-play drive was driven home with a 4-yard score from Nick Brossette to start the game 7-0 LSU. Then after forcing a Florida punt, the Tigers pushed the ball to the Florida 28. But that's when the Gators, the nation's leader in turnovers gained, forced a sack fumble of Burrow and recovered.
I was devastated. Well, it was. I mean, it shouldn't have been, but it turned out to be.
Yeah, it hurt, but there were a lot of things that went wrong today that we could have prevented.
And many of those crippling mistakes were a product of an inability for the Tigers' offensive line to keep Joe Burrow clean. Before halftime, LSU was forced to max protect, and yet they still played a hand in 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries, 2 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery, plus 11 tackles for loss. After the Tigers' offense stacked up 104 yards over their first 14 plays, LSU then netted just 149 yards over their next 9 possessions. Yet LSU was always within pouncing distance, and with 12:40 remaining, Nick Brossette broke LSU out of their offensive slump.
I just know we had somebody had to step up, and I feel like it had to be me.
That last drive when we go ahead, I thought we was going to win the football game. I thought our defense was going to stop them. We couldn't stop them.
Instead, the Tigers' defensive front continued to get gashed. LSU allowed Florida to bowl over them for 215 yards rushing, more than double the average the Tigers allowed through their first 5 games. And just 9 plays later, LaMichael Pirine gave Florida a 20-19 advantage.
Honestly, I was surprised at how much rushing yards they got. I feel like they didn't really run in between the tackles tonight. Everything was kind of more, they did a lot of speed options and stuff like that. And we made, some good second half adjustments. They had a couple runs throughout the stretch that we weren't able to adjust to. But like I said, that's on us. That's on the players.
But despite all that had gone wrong, LSU still had time on the clock for a response.
With about 2 minutes left in the game, LSU got the ball down 1 with a chance to go win. Instead, Burrow threw his first interception of his LSU career. It was taken right down this sideline for a pick-6, and it proved to be costly.
Yeah, I saw him. It was man-to-man. He made a great play.
Did he jump on it faster than you thought, maybe?
Yeah, he was just sitting flat-footed, and he made a really good play.
The guy broke on the ball. He had an out route. He's trying to force the throw right there. He was under duress the whole game.
The pick-6 by former McDonough 35 star Brad Stewart, which iced the win, was followed by one more Burrow prayer that was picked off to seal it for Florida for good. The Tigers' unblemished record was chomped up and dragged into the swamp on Saturday, but this season for LSU was always going to be defined by how they perform against Georgia and Alabama. If the Tigers can beat the Bulldogs at home next weekend, this will be nothing more than a slight speed bump in the road before a home matchup with the Tide, with potentially the SEC West title hanging in the balance. So while LSU's dream of a perfect season came to an end, a chance at one just as exquisite is still attainable. From Gainesville, with the LSU Tiger football team, Andrew Doak, 4th Down on 4.